Hey everyone, in this video we'll take a look at two of the most ridiculous vacuum sealers I have ever seen. The VacMaster Pro 380 and the Weston Pro 335. Both of these are arguably commercial use. The Weston is definitely commercial use. The VacMaster, I would say that you could get away with justification for home use, but again, it is more of a commercial unit. Certainly a far cry from some of the products that you see at the local department store for vacuum sealing food. Anyway, stay tuned. I'll show you what comes in the box, some of the weird quirks and features of each one, and then I'll give you my opinion of which one is the best. It may help you make a buying decision, so stay tuned. First, let's go over what each unit looks like, what you get out of the box, and just kind of an overview. So you get instructions. This is the Vac Master Pro 380. The difference between the 380 and the smaller unit is really the size of the sealer bar here. This is a 17-inch sealer bar. So is this one. They're both basically the same size. The VacMaster just has a slightly longer clearance just because of its design. But this one here is, both of them are really the largest on the market. The VacMaster has a cutter bar right up top, and then it also has an area inside here. You squeeze both ends, and then you can lift up on this tray, and it actually does come with a bag of sealer bags. Just to give you some perspective on the inner workings of these two machines, they're both about the same thickness. This one has this huge empty compartment in it, so all of the vacuuming components are right behind this fan and basically in this area here. On this unit, there is no secret compartment. All of the vacuuming is done within the entire scope of the machine. It weighs at least 10 to 15 pounds more than the other unit, but that's just to kind of give you an idea of what's inside these two units. This one is mostly storage, little bitty box for the vacuum part, and this one's all vacuum. So back to the VacMaster, it's got a completely clear door here, and we're going to seal with both of them, but the clear door is nice. You can completely see where you're putting the bag and make sure that it doesn't overflow. It's just pretty convenient. You have to hold down both of them at first until you set the controls, and then once the suction takes over, you don't need to hold it down anymore. The VacMaster Pro dashboard, so to speak, looks like this. Let's go ahead and plug it in so you can see it lit up. And both of them have a power button somewhere. Oop, I probably plugged in the wrong one. Nope, that's weird. Oh, there we go. It wasn't plugged in all the way. So power. Both of them have a fan that pops on. You can adjust the seal time, the heat time, the vacuum level. On the VacMaster, you can only control 3 different settings. And then it does have this adjustable option, and I guess, yeah. So you've got 3 presets, and then your adjustable up, down, however much vacuum force you want to make. We'll just leave it on max. You can set the time by pushing, this is the marinate time. I'll explain that in a minute. The other unit does not have that option. You have a pulse feature, which as long as you're holding the button, it is creating vacuum, and as soon as you let go of the button, it seals. You can seal on demand. You have an accessory, which is right over here on the side, and it does come with the accessory hose to vacuum down on a canister. And of course it has a stop feature, and that's pretty much it when it comes to the VacMaster. The reason why I would say this one's a little bit more consumer is because of this marinate feature. So you can push the marinate button and you can do it, and then you program the seal time and the marinate time. And what it'll do is it'll create a suction on the bag or on the canister, and it'll create that suction and release the suction over a period of time, which helps kind of pulsate the juices into whatever it is you're marinating. This one doesn't have that. So that's pretty much the external features. It's very mechanically put together, meaning the bottom has all these screws on it that screw down the components to the unit. It's heavy, but not ridiculously heavy like the other one. And it has a brushed stainless feature, which I actually do like quite a bit. The bar here is just plastic. It is a little flimsy, and it does not come out very easily. Here's what the back of the unit looks like. And the vent fan here on the side. The other vent, and there is no vent fan on this side. So that's a close-up of the VacMaster. Stay tuned and we'll go over the Weston product. Okay, I've already plugged in the Weston Pro 3500, and I've moved it over a little bit so that I can just get around it easier. You can see already it has a reflective stainless steel coating, or polished stainless steel finish, which is nice. It looks nice, but it gets fingerprints on it, which is kind of annoying. I have to tell you a little story about the Pro 3500 because you're not likely to find this for sale. And the value in this video is that the features are very, very similar to the Pro 3000. And I'll explain the difference between the 3500 and the 3000. So a marijuana distributor or some kind of legal marijuana thing company contacted Weston and asked them to custom make a vacuum sealer for them with certain specific functions. So they made this unit, and then the deal fell through, so they had some number of thousands of these things to sell, and they liquidated them. A few buyers from Amazon picked them up, but the internals are almost identical to the Pro 3000. So you could really take this video as a value point for comparing the VacMaster with the Weston 3000. I have the 3500, so that's why I'm using this. If you can get your hands on one of these things, it is a limited edition, so to speak, and it has some really neat features that the 3000 does not, and I'll talk about those in a minute. But it really is in a whole different class of vacuum sealers. So first, when you turn it on, I've turned off the other one. I'm sure you heard the fan running, but when you turn this one on, I mean, it sounds like it's about to take off. This fan sucks through from both sides and creates a wind tunnel, so to speak, over the vacuuming pump and cools it. It's got a double, this is not going to be a really technical video, but it's 900 watts and it's a double plunger vacuum pump, which they both actually do have that. This one is a larger capacity vacuum pump. So what does that mean for me as a consumer? It's going to work less to do what I want it to do. So you'd think that it would probably last longer. It is the same pump that's in the Weston 3000. The screen here is a little different than the, control panel rather, than you get on the 3000. So it's got the power button. It's got a full vacuum mode where you just click that and it tells you you're going to seal or how much time do you want under full vacuum mode. When you click on vacuum time, take that back. When you click on full vacuum, it's going to provide full vacuum and override whatever you have preset. So let's take that off. When you put vacuum time on, you get to select how long you want the suction. 5 seconds is the default. When you click on seal time, 3 seconds is the seal time for the default. And if you don't make any changes, it automatically kicks back. So I can see that I'm set for 5 seconds of vacuum and 3 seconds of seal, and based on the bags I'm using and vacuuming things like coffee beans, which I did just as a test here, that's a really good vacuum time. Manual seal and pulse is another way to use the unit, where you could literally put the bag in, set everything up, hit pulse, and as soon as you take your finger off pulse, it stops the suction, and then you could manual seal. And when you hit manual seal, it seals it for the time that you have listed here. Canister is the same, except their canister is right here in the lid. I have to stop this thing. So hit cancel and it releases. The canister fitting is in the lid, and they do not give you a canister cord hose. You'd have to buy one on your own. So another difference is it comes with this cutter bar. The 3000 does not come with the cutter bar. It's an aluminum bar, track with plastic, and it is kind of neat that it does actually remove. You can pop it off. Like I said, there is no storage anywhere in it. So on the back, they've given you brackets to hang bags. And it is slightly wider, about 1/2 an inch wider than the VacMaster. Another feature is the seal bar. So they put this protective tape over here so you don't burn right through your bag. The tape is on the bottom and the top of the foam seal, and this is some kind of special foam that doesn't burn. But these things will eventually become brittle, and they give you another set of these that you can easily just buy from them. When I talked to the representative at Weston, they said you're not likely to burn through these in just using just regular use. But this has a double seal, so there's two. I think they're 3 millimeter. You can see right here, there's a double seal, and it seals simultaneously. This one over here has a huge seal bar. It's 5 millimeters, so very big seal bar, but there's only one of them. And I have to admit, I do like that feature. That is another difference between the 3500 and the 3000. The 3500 has the 5 millimeter seal bar. This one has the double, I think this is 3 millimeter seal. Also, the chamber for the suction is much larger. It's rounded off around the edges, which just seems to make sense to me. And the little area where the vacuum is created really doesn't have all that much of a wall around it. So if you get a bunch of liquid in here, they said water is fine, it'll evaporate, but if you get blood or any kind of juice in here, you need to dismantle the machine and clean it, because that will cause a problem. But this thing is huge. The chance of you'd have to walk away from it to actually get it to suck liquid up into here, in my opinion. On this one, just a closer look, the chamber is not as big, but the vacuum port is up higher, so you can fit more liquid in here. And they've gone with this funny shape, which is fine. This one is just much bigger. Okay, so what else can I show you about this thing? Rather than being completely clear like the 3000, the 3500 has a stainless steel case around the lid, and that gives it some weight, which is kind of nice because you don't really have to press down on it at all to get it to seal. And it also enables a point to put the latches. Now, what are the latches for, you may ask? So, evidently, in the marijuana industry, they have a scenario where they don't vacuum, they only seal under certain situations. So, if you're not vacuuming and you're sealing something that's relatively thick, you really need a lot of pressure down in order to get that seal to work. So, their specs called for latches that would provide that pressure, so the person bagging the weed or whatever would lock down both sides and then hit the manual seal button, and they would successfully seal whatever bag it is that they're putting the lead in. So that is an overview of both units. You can see here from the side. I don't know what these two openings are for, and neither did the technician that I talked to, and I don't know what these two threaded holes do. I showed you the back before. What I do want to show you is the underneath side. Now this thing is significantly heavier, and it's only going to tip up so far because of that back bracket to hold the bags, but you can see under here there is another fan, lots of screws, a center foot. There's just a lot going on under here, and it's very mechanical, very assembled by a person looking. There's no doubt in my mind that this thing is kind of old school when it comes to manufacturing, which, you know, kind of reminds you of an older, you know, super well built American product, even though it's made in China. The plug is here, and they do give you a fuse also in case you blow it. You can go ahead and replace that easy, but that's the overview. Let's go ahead and seal a few bags. Okay, so first we're going to seal with the Weston unit, and I've got some leftover steak and some coffee beans just as an example. So first thing you want to do is pull the bag over, and I did read online that when you cut the bag, especially on this one, it wants to slide back in, and the same thing happens with this. So we'll pull a bag, you know, we'll just kind of guess, and go ahead and cut it. Since we're going to do two things, let's go ahead and cut two bags. But see, when you pick this up, it immediately falls. So that's kind of annoying if you're used to a more consumer level machine. They roll from underneath, and you're not constantly looking for the bag. But as far as how the cutter works great. So you lift the top here and seal the bottom of the bag. So we're just going to lay it in there halfway, close it. Oh, that was a weird sound. Close that down, and then because I'm only sealing, I'm just going to hit manual seal, and I already have it set for 3 seconds. That's the factory default, as I mentioned, but I know it works just fine. So we'll hit manual seal, and it's going to provide suction during that whole time, and you'll see it'll cut down. And then you just have to wait until it releases. You'll get an audible release, and there's your seal, and that's a really great seal. It doesn't burn through the bag, and there's no air pockets or really anything. So since we're going to seal two things, we'll go ahead and do this one also. So lay it in there. And, you know, it doesn't really matter. You can put it in super far, and let's try putting it in just maybe a ½ inch over to try to save as much bag volume as we can and see if there's any difference in the way it performs. So we'll lower it, hit manual seal. Wait for it to release. And there is no difference. You just get a little bit less lip there, so just a little more bag volume. So first, let's go ahead and do some coffee beans. So we'll just pour the coffee beans here into the bag. And I'm going to push the unit back a little bit so that I have some work surface. We'll just lay it on here, hold it like that, just exactly the way we just did it. And this time we're going to hit let's hit start, because that's going to go with our times that the manufacturer recommended. I think what I'll do differently with the meat is do a pulse manual seal as an example on how to prevent sucking blood or liquid into the chamber. So we're just going to hit start, and it's counting down, 4, 3, 2, 1, and it's sealing. And we'll wait for the release. And this is way stronger of a seal. I would say this is the equivalent of like a 10-second seal on a commercial. I mean, it is rock hard. There is no air left in there. The double seal is perfect. And you can just really rock it through a lot of these if you were doing this, if you had a whole bunch of stuff to freeze or seal up. So for this next one, let's go ahead and do the meat. I always like to roll my bags down a little bit when I put wet stuff in there so that I don't risk getting food on the outside. And I'd rather not get this all over my hands, so let's just put, yeah, that much in there. This is last night's steak. Roll this back up, lay this in there. And the nice thing about this design, as opposed to the kind that you have to feed in the bag, is you just lay it on there, close the lid, and now you're pretty much in control. You don't have to have 3 different hands to get it fished in and then deal with the unit. So I said I was going to demonstrate the pulse. Let's see how that works. So I'm going to push and hold pulse until I'm happy with the way that this is vacuuming. And I'm going to watch for liquid to get pulled in, which I'm getting a little bit of liquid here. So I'm going to let go, and it doesn't lose the seal. That's good to know. I'm going to hit manual seal. Oh, it's sealing. And it should release. That was super easy. And that is a great seal. Very happy with that. Something to notice is every time I open this thing, it bangs against the top of the unit, so there's no doubt I'm going to get some scratches here. And this door is actually super heavy. When you heard me drop it earlier, I'm not sure exactly what happened in there. I'm not going to repeat that, but it definitely sensed something and reacted in some way. It sounded like it ran the vacuum for a second and then realized that nothing was happening. One last thing about this unit is it comes wrapped in plastic, just like most mirror finished stainless steel would. So I'm going to have to dismantle it to get the rest of this white plastic off. I didn't bother to do that yet because honestly I wasn't sure which unit I was going to keep. I bought both of them to evaluate, and I'll return one of them. But if I do choose to keep it, I'll have to dismantle this, and then also in the back here, I'll have to take this rather ridiculous, over-engineered rack apart to get the rest of the plastic off. And since we're back here real quick, I'll just show you. This comes out like this to hold multiple number of bags. That's clearly aluminum. And this will actually fold up for storage, and then the thing here will stick right in there. So you do get kind of a compact finish, but if you're going to store this thing, you really have to store it flat, because if you store it on this side, you're going to hit this plastic arm. If you store it upright on the back, you're going to hit all of this that's going on back here. So it really, you have to find a space where this thing will fit, and it is kind of a beast. Okay, let's switch over to the VacMaster Pro. All right, let's do the same exact thing with the VacMaster Pro, and I'll show you what that experience is like. I've already replaced the bags. This is the same bags that we were using on the Weston. They hang over the thing here, which is slightly annoying. So we'll just push it back to the point where I can see the cover. And we'll plug it in and start it up. Power. All right, so first let's just cut our bags. We'll do exactly the same thing. And now I can't access the bag, but it doesn't actually fall away. So that is a false statement earlier that it rolls back in. It doesn't seem to actually do that. So we'll cut our 2 bags and place it in the sealer. So this is also a little bit of a different experience. This is much flatter here, and this has a large rim, much more foam, and much less clearance. So these bags are going to be sealed tighter anyway. So we'll go ahead and lower it. I know that you have to push on it because I read the instructions. And we have the seal time. Seal time set to 3 seconds, which is the same as the Weston. So let's go ahead and push seal. So that was definitely faster. And I guess it has a little bit of a warning or a beep to tell you that it's done, because the vacuum isn't enough. And I'll tell you, the seal isn't as good. So you can see here, it's got air in the seal here, air in the seal here, and air over here. And I'm not sure if that's actually burning, so I'm not sure if that's too much seal time or too little seal time. So we'll test it as we fill it with the meat and we'll test it again on this one too. So let's increase the seal time by 1 second and see what happens. So we've moved it up to 4.0 and I'm going to hit seal. Yeah, I'm going to lower it to a 2-second seal time because it's definitely sealed, but it almost looks like it's burning. So I would say that 4.0 is too much. So since we have this one sealed from the bottom, let's go ahead and put some coffee in there and duplicate the time on the Weston. So we're going to go seal time 2.5, we'll do a little less. Vacuum maximum, which is close enough to what we had here. And we're going to just hit start. So you can see that it takes a little bit longer to vacuum. So seal time maximum is way too long. It was on like 20 seconds or something. And that is definitely the sweet spot for the seal. So it takes longer to vacuum. However, it is a very good vacuum. And by lowering the seconds on the seal down to 2.5, this is a perfect seal now. So worked fine. Took slightly longer, but definitely just fine. So let's try the meat. And we'll do the same thing. We'll try the pulse and seal so we don't get any liquid up into the machine. I didn't bother to roll that this time because I forgot. A little bit of meat on there. And let's go ahead and lay this in there. And lower this. So you see how this is wrinkling here? That's because of the weight of this. It isn't as beefy. I mean, you have to put it down, straighten it out, and the weight of this is just massive. And I'll show you another difference in a minute here on why I think my experience is better on the Weston. But we've got it into position. We've got plenty of air in the bag. I'm going to hit pulse, and then I'm going to hit seal. And it should remember the time. So I'll pulse it. Well, that didn't do what I expected it to do. Oh, you have to hit pulse twice. And I have to hold down on the lid in order to get suction. So now that it's sucking, it's working pretty well. I'm making sure no liquid. There's liquid. I'm going to let go. And then I'm going to hit seal. And it's doing its magic. And then it releases, and we've got a solid seal. And it works great. I have to be honest with you, if I never played with this one, I would be really happy with this. It just takes slightly longer. And let me show you something else about the difference between these two. So I'll put them kind of close together. So what it feels like is the geometry between this seal and this seal is almost opposite of this seal and this seal. And what I mean by that is when you lower this lid, you're basically level. And these seals are not compressing as much as this giant seal. Now that may flatten out in time, but what's happening is when you lay the bag in there, the bag just wants to lay more evenly because the difference between the heating bar and the bag having to climb over this seal is much less than this one. This one, you can see how thick this is. It's as thick as my finger. And when you put this seal down, the bag is automatically wants to wrinkle. And here's another thing that I'm just realizing. the plexi hits the giant seal before the seal hits, before this seal hits the bar, hits the heater bar. See the space? It's not even touching. As opposed to this one, the design just causes this to touch this at the same rate. So that definitely made for a better experience. Second, this one's just plain wider. Hands down, you get slightly more sealing room. Third, you get a larger margin of error here than you do on this one. Some other features, more powerful, we already mentioned that, 700 watt motor, 900 watt motor. So what are the drawbacks? This thing is ridiculously heavy. It's got a mirror finish, which is going to get dirty, which is annoying. You know, finish and weight, I would say, are the two drawbacks here. This one is much lighter weight, and the finish is nicer for picking up dirt. Which one am I going to keep? So I can tell you I'm going to keep the 3500 for a number of reasons. Number one, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, it is kind of a collector's item, so to speak. Weston doesn't really make it anymore, and it will eventually be kind of a one of a kind. Second is I was really impressed with the way that this operates compared to this. It's just easier. If I was doing 10 or 15 steaks, I would really rocket through them faster, I think, with this one than I would with this, because it does take longer to seal, and this is not designed as well as the Weston product. So keep in mind, if you are comparing this to the 3500 instead of to the 3000 instead of the 3500, it's going to give you the same type of operation here. All of this is the same, except this bar is just a different type of bar in there, of sealer. So that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it gives you a buying decision. At the very least, you got a close-up look of these two units, which honestly, there's not a YouTube video out there that really gives you this much detail on these two units. So if you're in this market to buy a commercial vacuum sealer and you valued the operation of this one, I hope that helps you make a buying decision. If you can find one of these, they're ridiculously expensive, but they're you know, just really the Mac Daddy of this style of vacuum sealer. And remember, the 3000 is basically the same unit with just a few less features and significantly less expensive than this one was. So, as always, thanks for watching, and please subscribe.